Hey, what's going on YouTube? Valsa here, and today we're taking a look at what could easily be a Doom pet. This super strong Shadow Faedrake from Matrox 2001 is the primary pet for his Burt Tohar March. That's the perfect march for it. The Shadow was really designed specifically for them to maximize single target magic DPS. Now Matrox is looking to round off this pet, but doesn't want to spend a ton of additional time or resources on it, preferring to put his main focus on other pets. Okay, when we're reviewing pets, the first thing we look at, do we need to continue to regenerate this pet? Not this one. This is about as good as I've ever seen. All right, you've got eight slots here. That's obviously the maximum. And what do shadows care about? They care about intelligence, spirit, and luck, and maybe a little bit about agility sometimes. Okay, so the ones you really care about: intelligence, S tier, pretty high S tier even. Spirit, S tier, and luck, your S plus, you've basically maxed out luck. You could roll 10,000 potions away and never get as good a result as you see right here. All right, now the only stat in here that might make you a little sad is spirit, and the reason is there's a key breakpoint that you don't quite reach, but what is that breakpoint? 300, so like literally max spirit. Your spirit here is still great. We'll talk about that in detail in a second here, but this is a great pet. Do not regenerate this pet under any circumstances. All right, so what about the skills? Look, shadows are a little tricky. When I give advice about war pets, one of my main things is pets can do basically one of two things. They can either do the damage themselves, or they can enhance what your heroes are doing, right? But when you do that, you really should be choosing one or the other, right? Either max the pet out for pet damage itself, or max the pet out to help the heroes as much as possible. Be great at one thing, don't be mediocre at two things, right? We do not want halfway crooks with Call of Dragon pets. But the issue with the Shadow is, and as you probably know, the Shadow's talent does two things. First, it fires off a magic single target DPS at whatever your target is, so it's doing damage. And it also puts a debuff on that target, the captive debuff, which makes your Legion do more damage to that target. Right, so now unfortunately it's only the Legion the Shadow is on. It's not a debuff that affects anyone else, but it will help your Legion do more damage. Okay, so you're doing single target damage with the pet, and you're also buffing your march with the pet. So the Shadow is kind of living in both worlds. Alright, so now the captive debuff, let's talk about that for a second. The base debuff lasts 2 seconds, but you can get the Amber skill. The Amber skill increases the duration of the debuff by 1 second for every 75 spirit you have, right? So if you had, 225, that gives you 3 additional seconds. If you had 300 spirit, max spirit, you get an additional 4 seconds, but hey, 266, that's plenty good spirit. 3 additional seconds is real good. All right, so we're in the pet store and everything's been set to 2 stars. And I want to talk about follow-up real quickly. Now, follow-up gives you a base 40% chance for your war pet 2 seconds after it casts its rage skill to recast that rage skill. The follow-up damage is lower than the original cast. You'll see on the card it says 15%, but that's not being modified by intelligence. On his pet with a 2-star skill, his follow-up is going to do a little over 43% of the original damage. He could get that up to 70% if he 3-starred that skill. And like I said, follow-up has a base 40% chance, and it's not affected either by the star level on the follow-up or the attributes on the pet, but you can boost it with an Amber skill, Advanced Follow-up, which he's done here on this pet. Now it's an Amber skill, so obviously it's at 3 stars, and it's modified by luck. With this high luck, Advanced Follow-up is moving his chances from the base 40% all the way up to 99.86%, so this is going to trigger virtually every time. Now there's 2 great things to note about follow-up on this pet. First, though, the damage on follow-up is lower. The captive debuff is applied both times, and there's no reduction on a debuff. Now, it's not quite as good as getting 2 times the captive debuff, because here's how it works. Your primary hero casts their rage skill. You wait 1 second. If your deputy had a rage skill, then they'd cast theirs, but Tohar doesn't have a rage skill. So after Burt casts his rage skill, wait 1 second, and then the Shadow will cast its rage skill, applying the captive debuff. That debuff would normally be for 2 seconds, because we have the Amber skill here, it's a total of 5 seconds. After the first cast, 2 seconds later, follow-up kicks in and the pet recasts its talent skill, overriding the first debuff and giving you a new 5 seconds. So you get 2 seconds of the original debuff, 5 seconds from the second debuff, for a total of 7 seconds. That's still pretty good. All right, so that's one great thing about follow-up on the Shadow Faedrake. What's the other? Well, it's this, right? Physical pets all have ways to do additional damage other than the talent skill, right? They have Fierce Attack or Chain Strike, etc., etc. That give them additional damage source. And some physical pets have other ways to get even more than that. For example, the Advanced Barbarism skill on the Shadow Manticore, right? Now those skills all benefit from the generic damage boosters like Fatal Bite, Blood Roar, etc. But they don't benefit from the specific damage booster skills. For example, Intense Barbarism. Intense Barbarism helps Barbarism, but it doesn't help Advanced Barbarism. But on magic pets, follow-up is the second damage source, right? And the reason that's so good is follow-up recast the talent skill, which means things like Intense Shadow Hunter not only benefit the talent skill, they benefit the follow-up second cast of that talent skill. Okay, now Shadow Hunter, just to recap, it not only is it doing direct damage to the target, it's also applying a debuff that helps your hero, and then you get your second damage source follow-up, which recasts it and does the same thing, right? Direct damage to the target and also helps your hero. So with the Shadow Hunter, you're kind of stuck living in both worlds of both trying to maximize the pet damage and also helping your heroes out. Okay, there's no way to get away from that, but when you come to the generic skills on the pet, I do think you need to fade one way or the other. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, take a look at Magic Fortune. Magic Fortune increases the crit rate for your Warpet's skill damage. You look at something also like Magic Spirits, which increases the crit damage for your Warpet skills. Those two skills are great, right? They're helping each other. In fact, without something like Magic Fortune, Magic Spirits wouldn't work at all. They're synergistic and they boost each other. Now let's take a look at Light's Guidance. This increases the crit rate for your hero skill damage. I mean, that's a good skill for Burt Tohar. They like hero skill damage, but it's not benefiting from these other skills, and it's not helping for them, and it's not getting helped by them. And I think to maximize your pet, to optimize your pet, you really want to maximize the synergies as much as possible. The other thing that should always be in the background of your mind when you're building your pets out is that you're living in a world of limited resources. Building a pet to do pet damage is so much more expensive than building a pet to help your heroes out. What do I mean? Like in the Magic world, key skills for pet damage are like Magic Fortune, Magic Spirits, Elemental Harmony, 27, nearly 28k, 26 plus k, 12k. Key things to build your pet to help your heroes out: Light's Guidance 800, Magic Pulse less than 800, Sun Epiphany 960. These are so much cheaper to build the pet to help your hero out. So if I'm starting from scratch with a Shadow, I think I'm going to build it to help my heroes out more than building it to do damage itself. All right, but we're not starting from scratch here, so what would I do? There's already a ton invested into this pet. I don't want to ask how many regen potions it took you to get 8 skill slots with this stat line. You got 2 Amber skills on here, Advanced Shadow Hunter and Advanced Follow-Up. You got a 3-star talent, and you got 2 expensive 2-star pet damage boosters. Now those are sunk costs, and if you're an economist right now, you're screaming about sunk cost fallacy, but let's be real, I don't think many economists are playing Call of Dragons these days. This is a game, and psychology of players is important. You want to have fun playing the game. You've already put a ton in this pet, let's finish it off. All right, so here's my recommendation. Let's drop Light's Guidance. It's a good skill here, and you got a great luck score, but like I said, the synergy isn't amazing. So we're going to add something with better synergy, specifically Resonance. Thankfully, Resonance is in the super costly category, and let's put Resonance up to 2 stars. The only other change I'm going to recommend here is boosting Intense Shadow Hunter. It's fairly expensive, so let's just upgrade that to 2 stars, and it'll help a lot. The last thing we should talk about is the lack of Elemental Harmony. It's a great skill, no doubt, but the problem is you've already got 3 intelligence skills. You can't lose the talent skill, and you don't want to lose follow-up. It's amazing on this pet. That only leaves Intense Shadow Hunter, and on this pet with this build, Intense Shadow Hunter is just better. Thanks to everyone who stopped by. If you enjoyed this content and would like to see more, please hit that like and subscribe button. I'm always looking for more pets to optimize, so if you have a Warpet you'd like me to take a look at, send it to ytvalsa@gmail.com or DM me in the game. Also, if you got one of those cracked out super Kraken pets that you'd like to flaunt and show off to the rest of the community, send it in because I'll be rating the strongest pets in the game right here on the channel. You can find more details in the description below. Until next time, you stay classy, Belleron.